the stage here, what's going to happen tonight is they are going to present their recommendations for the district vision and direction. Also, their recommendations for how we move forward. And then that'll leave us into some really good discussion. In there will also be some other options, some other realistic options for us to consider as part of that conversation. Really want to keep us at that strategic level tonight because there's going to be a lot of tactical questions they can't answer today because again, we're just coming up with what does it look like moving forward, right? So I'm going to ask us to kind of stay at that strategic level today. There'll be plenty of time for us to dig into the tactical details, so forth. But again, I would just love to start with them presenting and then us come back to that discussion. Any kind of questions about that approach or?
It's having a chance to present this as to where we're at. Our whole presentation and recommendation is based upon not only the portrait of a beaver, but one community pursuing greatness, getting better every day. Really trying to work that throughout. First and foremost, we want to take a look at the landscape and where we're at for these things. So really important. What's the problem we're looking at? We actually have a dual challenge. We have a systemic structure deficit where our expenditures grow faster than revenue. In fact, I've looked at the last 15 years and our revenue has not kept pace with inflation. It's about half the rate of inflation. Not that the rate of inflation is great, I would say that it's not, but we're not to the point where we need to be. And at the same time, we have aging infrastructure that no longer meets modern educational standards, and we are one disaster away from a true problem. The district runs incredibly lean, as we are the second lowest in Lake County in spending per pupil, with 71% of our funding and our revenue generated from local sources. That is the third highest in Lake County. So you look at the states or the school districts in Lake County, our tax base share is pretty significant. We are fiscally responsible, and our fiscally responsible operations have led to significant estimated savings in both this fiscal year and predicted in next. Just to look at where we are compared to Lake County and some of our spendings that's there. So that graph, and I know it's really small on the screen, it's small on my own, but I did blow up some information here. Those are all the districts. Riverside is the second lowest in amount of spending per pupil, and that is, this is on the screen, no. That is these, we're the second, I'll just get out with the old fashioned. We're the second bar right here. So when you look at where we are in terms of our expenses per pupil, and we are seeing the fact that our revenue coming in, our expenses are a little bit above what our revenue is. So this kind of predicts and shows some deficit spending that we're getting at. These are things we've had. We are doing some things and we are making some efforts to curb that where that's at. But that's kind of where we're at from our forecast. That's what we predicted. It's not a surprise. Dr. Thompson spoke about that at all. When you look at how we get our funds, so where our revenue comes from, and again, this is where it really kind of came out. I was like, oh, this is local share. So the dark blue is the local share of what we bring in. We are the third highest. The two that are higher than us, Menor and Wycliffe, which I was a little surprised at when you think of industry and how local property, local share is also its property tax Class A and Class B combined. So it takes both of those. So Wycliffe has Lubrizol. I don't know how many tax abatements they have in Lubrizol, but I'm sure they give their share to some. I'm not going to name
dark blue. I'm sorry,
Dark blue is local.
Local. Okay.
Light blue is state. The thing that got me in this one that I really kind of took out to is Perry is about 50-50 state and local. A lot of that is because of the tax changes that they've made in terms of tangible personal property tax. The state still reimburses that back to them. So some of the changes they've made in terms of business taxes and fairway, and that gets reimbursed back to Perry. So that's where we stand. Again, object spending per pupil. This is salaries. We've always said we're salaries and benefits. Salaries is this color, there's benefits. We're in line with most of the others. We're right in line. We have made a concentrated effort not to hide salaries as such. So sometimes what districts will do is they'll contract with an ESC for administrative or for specialized services, and they'll call that a purchase service. We want our people to be our people. We brought them in and we've said, this is what we're spending and this is where the money is going. So see where we're at. And then what those functions are. anything that's red or orange directly impacts students with their classroom expenses. So that's where we are. Just to kind of spell out kind of where the expenses go. The need is clear. When you look at it, operating is an issue. We need to address operating funds. We do have a deficit forecast of spending despite, and I want to reiterate, just by running how we run, we've made $1 million in savings in fiscal year 26, over $1 million, and then we have a projected $500,000 in fiscal year 27. So $1.5 million in savings that we're trying to save just by running fiscally responsible. We're exploring win-win shared service agreements when we can. Fairport, our food service agreement with Fairport is a great example of that. They get food service, we benefit from that in terms of getting their federal funding, working to that to make sure that it is actually it's self-sustaining, and we're not losing money. A lot of districts lose money in food service. We have always actually run the opposite. We make some money. That's a great thing for us. We have great cooks, we have kids who are hungry, and we work the way to make sure we do that. Fairport, we have reached out to Fairport and other local districts about other shared service agreements. We want to make sure they're beneficial for us, and we're not just a big school out there providing the form. So they have to be the win-win model. Some of those are challenging. Busing comes up a lot. That would be great if we can find the drivers. Bus drivers that's a big, we would love to help people, but we have to make sure we have the staff to do it. So we have 3 open routes right now currently on our staff that we're trying to fill, so we would need to fill more. So continue to find that need. We also think the Buckeye expansion, elementary redistricting and taking Mellor offline is going to offer savings. We are going to be able to, through attrition, lose some positions, also through not having electrical, those sorts of things. That's going to help us out. Declining enrollment has allowed for us to do attrition. So we are seeing declining enrollment. That has impacted our attrition and allowed us to save money. So we're not in a significant trend where others might be. Also, the second priority, the need is clear in priority 1A, and we call that facilities. Recently, as we're going through the strategic plan, I've had a chance to sit on some of our community focus groups, as well as looking at surveys from 2019 and 2024, and all of them call for a clear and present need to address secondary education spaces. The need is out there, and it is clear. It's a 75-year-old building that has significant needs. We've got all the data to back that up. We can't do that without generating new funds. We either need those new funds to renovate current spaces, replace with brand new facilities, or a hybrid model of both. This high school, and everyone we've talked to in every survey, it's beloved, it's iconic, the way that it looks as you drive through Riverside Drive. It is a signature showpiece of this community, and it's a source of pride. We need to embrace that. But a cost of a complete renovation, it gets incredibly costly because you have to put kids while you're renovating. So you have to move kids out. It's not, you can't renovate a school this large over the summer and section it off. It becomes incredibly costly, expensive. So that's a hard one. And if we continue to delay and not work to address those issues, we've talked about, well, the boilers could go. Well, the roof could go. All of these what ifs, and we're getting closer and closer, and the structures they're making us more and more nervous as to where we're at if we don't do something to start addressing it. And we start to put money into this, into this facility. Is that the best use of our funds at this time? And so the facilities plan has been updated, submitted in the draft form to you as well to look at where we're at with that. So again, one community pursuing greatness, getting better every day. That's what we want to focus on. We're at a critical crossroads. Both operating and building funds are needed. It's not due to mismanagement of funds. It's not due to excessive spending on anything. Continuing with the status quo will likely have a significant outcome on the student experience. If we don't act and do anything, at this point, we're at the point where students and student programming will suffer. Although operating funds will always be the sole priority, I think this is the time when you need to look at both. To preserve long-term viability. And what's the vision? So it's the vision first. So the vision in looking at this is reimagine the Riverside campus, honoring our past while securing our future. It is important to look at what the community has said, how important this iconic building is. We need to honor the heritage. Our proposal is construct a new campus wing that complements the iconic architecture of Riverside High School when viewed from Riverside Drive. Don't take away that experience and that source of pride from the community. We need to partner with community members. We need to create a hub. I do believe that every community, and one of the things that's lacking in this community that's coming out in our focus groups as well, is we need a centralized hub for all these communities to come together. They come together for school here, but that's kind of it. Can we utilize what we have in land and spaces to really provide a central hub to that? We have talked with the YMCA, we have meetings set up with local townships, we're talking with medical providers to try to find ways to do more than just a school and be the all-inclusive community center for that. Revitalize our high school. So refresh and renew the current high school to accommodate maximum modernized programming. At one point, Dr. Thompson and I said to do that would be incredibly expensive and way more expensive than actually tearing down and building new. We asked TDA to look into it. They said, absolutely, actually it's not. It's pretty close. So we had some new ideas with them. Maximizing our shared investment. And again, talking about how do we leverage our partnerships so that when we do a project like this, it doesn't just benefit our students, but it benefits our entire community as one. Because that is a big thing for us. So what does that look like on a campus? Well, our proposal includes making and revitalizing the Riverside campus so that it's 712. That works better from a programming standpoint, as well as where we work in Ohio kind of operations. Basically, 712 is that secondary level. So you have sports that start at that age. You also have the school day length is different, K6 versus 712. It makes it a little bit different. So looking at a 712 Riverside campus, Lamouth becomes the intermediate school that allows us to grow in all those areas, and then all three of our elementary schools become pre-K4. So that doesn't mean we're going to have preschool, all of those, but preschool and through kindergarten through fourth grade will be served by our three elementary schools. When you look at kind of our enrollment and where births are, and this is just kind of we're pretty flat in trajectory, and we're seeing and we're predicting that we're going to be around our largest class coming up, around 300. You know, 275 to 300 is our sweet spot kind of moving forward. So we are seeing declining enrollment, although birth rates declined a little bit. We're seeing birth rate decline not only across the region, but across the nation as well. I mean, I've learned firsthand kids are really expensive. But I also think we are seeing that birth rate is kind of declining, and we're not necessarily seeing that. We're seeing that in the region as well. And we're in our class sizes. So we're predicting 300 to 275 a class. Well, what's it going to look like? So TDA did some renderings, and these are just really kind of cool. This is, so it is AI generated, but this is the original high school. So if we redid the high school, this would be the original high school, remodeled and redone. They would build a wing on the high school outside of right out there on the band field. So that's a wing. And then these back here would be common spaces. So this is your cafeteria commons. They add another gym here. This is the media center, all of that. So the space itself will be separated by programmatic grade level. So you have 7th grade, 8th grade. As you move towards more high school, we would still keep our brand new CTX wing, all that. But again, driveway in the front for student drop-off. It naturally separates out our transportation facility by the drop-off. Transportation was back there. This is kind of the vision that TDA came up with. We said, hey, what does this look like? And then one of the great things about Riverside is how do we look at Friday nights at Riverside? So TDA agrees, so they did a picture of it at night. Just a rendering of it at night. If they were to build a new building, and what a new building would look like, one of the things we said is, again, needs to look like the high school. That's a new building in the same spot. Really what they're doing is building in the parking lot behind the high school and shifting some parking up front. But that would be the rendering of a new building. Preserving the field house and all the history behind building the field house, making sure that field house is there and upgrading and modernizing the field house and all of that. So that's the vision. What are the strengths in that? Well, number one, instructional and operational efficiency. When you have grades 7 through 12, you can have teachers teach subjects between 7 through 12. That's where Ohio licensure bands fall. So you can be really efficient in the classes and the classes the teachers are offering. Get really kind of down to that, all of your subjects along the way. Access to advanced coursework. One of the things, again, in Ohio coursework, 7 through 12 is when you start to see, hey, we really need some access to high school courses in 7th grade, CCP courses in 7th, 8th, all the way up to the up to that. Having the opportunity for the career technical spaces. Creation of that community hub is another one. And then modernizing offerings while preserving our traditions. So really kind of what does that look like? What are the challenges? The number one challenge is cost and the impact on the local tax funding. Second one is securing that commitment and buy-in from partners. And the third is just timelines. The when is really important. And how do we make sure we hit our timelines and then we answer all the questions that we have, which is a whole lot of work that goes from there. So how do we pursue greatness? What are our options and timelines? Well, we have two. The first would be to put this on in November of 26. There are strengths to that. The benefits are the sooner we pass this, the sooner we start to collect revenue, the sooner we dig out of our deficit spending. Waiting until May 27 forfeits that full year because you can only start collecting depending on what the board chooses. You don't start collecting until the next calendar year at the earliest. The momentum. There's a lot of momentum around our district right now, and capturing on that momentum and building on that momentum moving forward, I think is really important, and this is an opportunity to build with that because we're at a positive space. Prevent significant reductions, and waiting amplifies our deficit spending, which leads us to larger and more disruptive and future reductions. We've talked a lot about this, and you hear Dr. Thompson say more about this, not to steal something, but cutting our way out of this it's almost impossible. We need to kind of have some other ways to do it, and we address our infrastructure now. We don't wait till you have a boiler go down, or we don't wait till there's a hole in the roof or something. Like we address it immediately, and we stop kind of the repairs that we have, and everything we have is for a purpose and a structured purpose. What's the challenge? Number one, it's a tight timeline. To turn it around in November, to have a levy spun up, to have everything there, to have the drawings, the concepts, 3D models, everything we know we need, because we've heard we need, that's a tight timeline to get there. Those deadlines, we need to know tonight to kind of have the proof, the resolution and all that to move forward, and getting input. So really kind of getting that, what is that timeline that we need to make sure that we have that, so that we have that community input along the way. Well, the other option is May. If we go in May, what's the option and what are the pluses in May? Well, this gives us really time to engage stakeholders, move forward in our preparation, really take a look at, more time, engagement, get this out there, ask the questions, answer questions, continue forward, refine the vision, get our partners on board. And also, it's not a, hey, it's reduced levy fatigue. So we're not rushing anything. We're really being purposeful about how we place this. What are the challenges? Obviously, we lose the year in collections. The longer we wait, if we are to do this, the costs that go up. Construction costs aren't going down, they're continuing to rise. We're looking at about a 5% inflation rate in construction from one year to the next. We are accelerating our fiscal decline. That's kind of where we're at. And then also the imminent reductions and perceived threats from those as to what happens if we are not successful with the ballot. So what does that look like moving forward? And last but not least, let's talk about funding models and how we can do this. And in Ohio, there's a number of different funding methodologies as to how we can do it. As I said, we are over 70% locally funded. That's not going to change anytime soon. I have not seen any legislation that says we are going to change that at any point. The current method that we fund most of our revenue with is traditional property tax. That is private real estate and also public utilities, also corporate. As you've heard, House Bill 920 has an impact on property tax because it's a flat collection rate. So it does not adjust with inflation. The primary strength is it's stable. People understand what it is, and it includes our businesses. The primary challenge is it's burdensome on our homeowners. And that is a real challenge right now. Not by anything we've done. The way we've shifted our taxing policy in Ohio, it has shifted the burden of property tax to our local homeowners over the past 25 years. And so I think that's a significant change. Another funding methodology is traditional income tax. This taxes every single wage earner and every single income earner. House Bill 20 is not impactful on this. This captures investments, this captures retirement accounts and wealth and all that. So this is all the community members in there. What are the challenges? It excludes business entities. and you can only adjust that in 0.25% increments. So you don't have the range that you have with a property tax. You can go up by tenths of a mil. You're looking at 0.25% increments, which are that's a large jump in our district. One of the it's not a newer way of funding, but it's become more apropos within the educational community with all the I guess the focus on property tax is looking at earned income. So earned income is very different. This is what looks at wages and self-employment. It taxes those who are working, and those would be the people most likely to send their students to school or recently been as a part of the school. Again, not impacted with House Bill 920. It does protect our seniors on a fixed income, which we hear a lot about. Continuing to raise tax, it protects them. They are not subject to this tax. The challenge of it is a narrower tax base, so the impact does go on fewer people. It misses our businesses. It doesn't hit investments, and it's also only in 0.25% increments. And the last one is we can combine them, and we can do a combination income tax and bond issue. So you kind of hit both. The only impact that 920 has would be a property tax on the bond portion of it, or the property tax portion of it. The strength of it is it diversifies risks and it balances it out a little bit. Again, we capture back on those businesses that are great to it. The challenge is it's really tough to explain what this means and what this looks like, and for every person it's different. So it's not a simple, hey, this is for $200,000, this is how much it's this and this. So if you fit into it, the explanation of it becomes more challenging. So the need's evident, and it's not a result of fiscal mismanagement. In fact, over the last 25 years, statewide tax policy has shifted the financial responsibility to our local property taxpayers. Consequently, Ohio is now one of the states with the lowest income tax rates. I believe we're 3rd or 4th in terms of lowest fixed income tax rate, but the highest property tax rates. I think it's 45th. So there's a significant difference. Property tax is something that needs to be addressed. We understand that. All of the polling says that is a challenge for our taxpayers. Additionally, over the past 15 years, the district revenue has not even kept pace with inflation. That is a result of House Bill 920. Those fixed rates that don't adjust at all. Even if they adjusted with inflation, we wouldn't necessarily be here at all. We are well under the pace of inflation. So that kind of spells the need. And then the recommendation is from Dr. Thompson as to how we move forward and all of the finances that go with it.